Remember I brought the kids out to try to fill there at full grass years ago, plus you were one of the guys that trained me when I started on the job. Yeah. I got out 10 years ago. I got my 30 years ago. Retired. Yeah. Along with a nice number of injuries, but that's okay. You know how that goes, right, brother?
Gator. I got about 25 for his autograph.
Bobby Stewart's career tonight is amateur, is pro, and it's Mike Tyson Day. This event's being sponsored by the Gloversville Sluggers, a new group being started, a boxing club. I'm going to turn things over to Jared Johnson, who is the founder of this. Good evening, everyone.
So first and foremost, I gotta tell everybody that I really appreciate you coming out tonight, making it a point to be here. Much greater turnout than we had expected. Little introduction on myself. I'm a business owner in Gloversville, in the fitness industry. Personal training is what I specialize in. I've been doing it for 10 years now. Business is located downtown on Church Street. That's been there, actively running for the past 7 years. Very proud of that, being that it endured COVID and made it to the other side. A lot of businesses aren't able to say the same, unfortunately. But that was a dogfight, and that's what I'm interested in, fighting of any sort. Go For It Fitness, as of this year, was nominated Reader's Choice, #2 fitness center in our local area, which again, being a one-man operation, that says a lot. Being that I'm up against competitors that have longer time in the business, greater amount of staff, and a longer reputation. Rewind back to 2020 and my speaking on COVID. Before COVID, my partner and I at the time decided, as any business would, how are we going to generate other revenue streams? We have personal training, very successful with that. So we get to talking about group exercise and fitness boxing coming up as one of the first things. Being that it's popular, my partner at the time boxed in the Navy. He had the history with it. And my history is that my father was a fighter, and I've always had interest in that. I played football, baseball for many, many years. Not my thing, but I still played the sports, so the athleticism was there, but my interest was always in fighting. Gentleman that I did train with is here this evening with us. It's just over there. Very large inspiration for me as far as introducing fitness boxing into my club. This is Mr. Joe Zagrees. I'll call him out by name. Here at again, one of my inspirations. Turned a lot of things around for me once I started to see that man, and that's basically how everything began for me, fitness-wise, once I was in my mid-20s and started this business. With that class that I started, back to that, very good turnout and attendance in the beginning. It wasn't an adult thing, but it was kind of open. If kids wanted to attend, we would allow them, but it kind of became to the point where the youth seemed to be more committed and had more interest in doing it than the adults did. Adults have more responsibilities and things that they need to care for, and that's very apparent. So we switched the program to focusing on the youth. That brings us to 2021, 2022. We're running strictly as a youth boxing program. 8 to 10 kids is what the focus has been on. more individualized attention for each participant. We move into 2023, and I'm having such a good response with it that I decide to turn this thing into its own separate entity from it just running as a class. The logo and the title of this group was created, Glove City Sluggers Boxing. In the logo, everybody kind of asked what that yellow blob is. Maybe some of you can make that out. It's Gloversville, that's where we're sitting. Those are the different wards. But some people know what it is, others question, well, what is that in the center of the logo? So 2024, in May, I make the decision to form a nonprofit for the club. Being that there's a lack of youth-based organizations in our community, I strongly felt that it was something that our area needs. Whether or not kid becomes a fighter or not, that's not really the focus here. Obviously, yeah, we want to house fighters, but what being a part of any organization, youth organization, kids can gain so much from being involved with something like that, and it can transform their lives, which obviously correlates with the rest of the story of the evening that we will get into with Bobby Stewart and Mike Tyson. Come to 2025, I've assembled a board of directors, and we've become an official USA Boxing Club in the Adirondack region. So a lot of efforts have been made to make this club official in our area. So we are recognized with the other surrounding clubs, and we can start to participate in USA Boxing events. So with that, where I am, I would like to introduce my board of directors. And I'll start with my treasurer, who's here next to me, co-host, Michael Hauser. Second would be my secretary, which is Dr. Mike Frazier. Dr. Frazier will also, being that he is a sports psychologist, be working with some of our athletes or all of our athletes. So again, the formation of this is with the intention to really make efforts to help the youth excel, especially underprivileged children that don't have the ability to be a part of other organizations, or they don't have the interest in baseball, football, basketball, what school provides. So Dr. Frazier is going to help out tremendously with the psychologist part. Next on the board, we have Chairman Brian Toll, who's in the back there. He can come out too. I like to make a mistake giving me this microphone because I'm going to start cracking jokes or something. Next in line, now the chairman, I'm looking at him right now, I know he's me, John Sardella. We host our meetings at the Brass Monkey on K-Dub Street in Gloversville. Phenomenal food. Plug. In charge over there in the kitchen is Kristen Sardella. We'll throw that out there. Next, Chairman Dick Alisi. The one and only Mike Tyson. Chairman. This is what I like to call, if anybody caught it on the radio this morning, we were on WNT, Bobby and I, we got a nice little segment on there. I like to call these guys, Bobby is a chairman as well, but we're not going to make him get up. He's the man of the hour.
Can we hear it from Bobby Stewart?
That's too much pasta on me. Yeah,
You look good. You look great. I just want Bobby to be safe.
No, it's best.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I'm going to pass this over to Mike Hauser, and we're going to get into the good stuff about Bobby. Before I move, though, Q&A for me, quick. Anybody? Questions? Yes, sir. We'll do a Q&A at the end.
How about now? There you go. Is that good?
Yeah. Yes.
All right, welcome everybody. We're here to talk about the club and Bobby Stewart's career. And you know, I'm standing over here and I'm looking at Bobby in this chair. You know those celebrity roasts? And then I see Gator and Calorie back there. I'm like, maybe we turn this into a roast. Flip the whole.
That'll work.
The Q&A you can. All right, if I get in the way, just tell me to move over. It's my first time through this presentation, so just kind of put it together as we're walking in. It's been a long process. All right, so with Bobby Stewart, most of the time when you hear that name, everybody thinks of Mike Tyson, and justly so, right? Without Bobby Stewart, there's no Mike Tyson. However, there's a lot more to Bobby Stewart. He was one hell of a fighter, both as an amateur and a professional. So we're going to kind of run through both of those facets of his career. And of course, you can't really tell the story about Bobby without finishing about Tyson, because it is such an amazing thing. But if you have questions, we're going to do Q&A at the end. If you have questions while we're going, feel free to jump in, but it's up to you. So Bobby Stewart, born 1952 in Amsterdam. His parents were Dorothea and Robert. Robert was a state trooper, and his mom worked in a doctor's office. And he spent a lot of time at the YMCA, the Amsterdam YMCA, from age 12 on. And there he did swimming and basketball. And down in the basement at the Amsterdam Y was the weight room. It's where the adults got to go. The weight room, the punching bags, the speed bags. Kids really weren't allowed down there. But periodically they would let them down there to hit the bags, but they weren't allowed to spar. So what Bobby would do at his house, he would get all his buddies together and they would spar down in the basement. They would hit the metal pole to, denote a belt starting around. But it got to the point where his mom got sick of the loud thuds of Bobby hitting people in the head. Right? She put an end to that. So the legend goes. So Bobby got a little taste of hitting a heavy bag. Again, the kids weren't really allowed to get too engaged. And Amsterdam was known as a hotbed for amateur and pro fighters, going back to the 20s, 30s, 40s. So in 1969, Bobby's 17, he's a senior in high school, and he starts working out with a guy named Bill Case. Now, Bill Case would go on to be a longtime police officer in Amsterdam, but he had just, I don't want to say retired from the Marines, but he had just got back from 4 years in the Marine Corps. He was 27, or 24, he's 7 years older than Bobby, and he had already fought 20 fights in the Marines. So Bobby started sparring with him, and
He said he had 7 foot, 20 foot. I never found enough. He entered the novice class, so you're not supposed to have any fight when you enter the novice class. So.
see, Bobby's humble.
Yeah, right.
So, when would the Golden Gloves have been that year? Late in the year? In
They were
69?
spring.
In the spring. So spring of 69, he's a senior in high school. He and Bill Case entered the Golden Glove, the Adirondack Golden Gloves tournament in Hudson Valley.
Troy, yeah.
Troy. Okay. Ironically, they end up facing each other in the finals, right? They both win all their fights, and they end up facing each other, and Bobby beats him. Wow. So now Bobby's the Adirondack AAU champion at age 17. Still in high
Novice
school.
class, so inexperienced novice class.
Quit interrupting, Bobby.
It's time for the roast. The following year, he keeps so people started to encourage him that he had a future in this, so he got serious about it. The following year, he and another Amsterdam guy, Lionel Gibbs, once again entered the Golden Gloves. Different weight classes, right, Bob?
Yeah, oh yeah, Lion was 146 to 147 pounds.
No. You want a taller chair?
No, I'm okay.
And once again, Bobby wins that. So does Lionel wins his class. So leading up to that, Bobby started going down to the Trinity Boxing Institute down in Albany, and was just allowed to work out there. And it was run by a guy named Matt Barnowski. Zaransky, okay. Baranski, I think, was an undefeated Marine as a boxer, and then for many decades in the Albany area, he trained amateurs and professionals. I think he was, we'll talk about it later, he was Tyson's cut man for the first, 20 fights? So a lot of really cool crossover with Tyson. So after Bobby wins the Adirondack, Baranski was in the crowd, and he was very impressed. So he took Bobby on as one of his fighters, became his trainer and his coach. So in '71, once again, Bobby does the Adirondacks, and then he moves on to the next category, Western Mass, right? Wins Western Mass. Or did you win? Did you win Western Mass? And then, when's the first year you did New England?
Yeah, I won every year. Western Mass, then he won in New England, in Lowell, Massachusetts, and then you fight everybody from New England. And if you win there, then you won for the national.
Okay.
Or they're held there.
All right. So in '72, once again, wins Adirondack, wins Western Mass, and then wins the New England regionals. In winning New England regionals, he punches his ticket to go to the Nationals, the U.S. Amateur Championships. And this year they were held in Minneapolis, and a teammate who fought in a different weight class named Marvelous Marvin Hagler. And well, during the question and answer session, somebody asked Bobby for his Hagler story of when they were sitting waiting to fight. Save that for the Q&A. So I think you went 1-1 that year. You didn't win it, but you went to the Nationals.
In the national work,
Minneapolis.
I won the first fight, I lost my second.
Okay. So in '72, yeah, '72 we're at. So then you would go out and fight a lot of local amateur fights. Some tickets down at Shuttleworth. I left this in here when I was doing the story on Bobby 5 years ago. I made a note of Jarrett. You see this? This is Jarrett's dad, Johnny Johnson, in the same fight, fought against Lionel Gibbs. So this in '72. More regional fights. So in '72, Baranski brings Bobby down to meet Customato down in Catskills. So Bobby starts training there like 1 day a week, and he would stay overnight so he could get 2 days of training in. And Cuss would kind of use him to fight some of his top heavyweight prospects. Who was the big guy you fought there? Psycho? Or is that what you fought as a professional? Cuss would bring the guys in from the Northeast, and Bobby would, as a light heavyweight, would give the heavyweight guys.
But there were lighter guys too, Gene Hart and Roy Hadley and guys like that.
You're ruining my story. So around that time, Customato had a relationship with Muhammad Ali, and they would periodically go down to his training camp in where is it? Deer Park, Pennsylvania?
Pardon me?
Where was the Ali training site, Pennsylvania?
We were down there like
72, yeah. But they would go down and give Ali's prospects, they would work out with them as well. So in '73, Bobby's named to the U.S. national team. And there's an exhibition down in Madison Square Garden. And I think it was the best of the U.S. versus the best of England, right? So Bobby fights a guy, last name of Wright, from London. He actually fought and won 2 fights in the '72 Olympics in Munich. So Bobby was set to fight him. 3 busloads of people from Amsterdam went down to watch the fight on a school night, so to speak, a work night. So it was a big deal, right? Everybody was really taking notice of Bobby. He didn't win that fight. It went to, went the distance, right? But he went the distance with a guy who won 2 fights in the Olympics, so pretty impressive. I think I have it proper. It wasn't the name. So in '73 again, he cruises through the Adirondack, he cruises through Western Mass, cruises through the New England Championships, and he goes to Nationals again. I think the Nationals were held in Lowell. I got the wrong article there, I'm sorry, but they were held in Lowell, Mass. And I think he split it again, one win, 1 loss. Wins the first, loses the second. So we come to 1974. This is Bobby's big year. 3rd year in a row, he cruises through, won all his fights in Adirondack, Western Mass, and New England. Never lost a fight. Punches his ticket to go to Nationals again, and now he fights in Denver, Colorado. Again, Marvin Hatlers is his teammate. He cruises through everybody he fights in that tournament, and in the finals, he fights a guy named Michael Phelps. And he beats him and wins the national championship with the light heavyweight. It was and there's a couple things that make this really impressive. Michael Phelps, about 6 years later, 82, 83, would go on to be the WBC heavyweight champion of the world. Bobby beat him 5 years ago. He wasn't very happy about it, was he? He wasn't very happy about it.
He won it, but then I saw him later on, and it's right before the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah. So it's Bobby's homecoming from his son and his wife, and there's the trophy. All right. So this, I think this is the absolute coolest stat on Bobby that really brings home what the U.S. National Amateur title means. He won, so if you Google this, you'll see the list, the lineage going back from the teens and 20s, all the way up. 1974, of course, you're going to see Robert Stewart. If you jump forward to 1984, 10 years later, a guy named Evander Holyfield wins that title, right? It's wild. If you go back 40 years to 1934, Joe Louis, right? One of the greatest fighters ever, held the title. Well, I think he held the belt for 12 years, right? He had the same title as Bobby. If you go back 15 years before Bobby, 1959, a guy named Cassius Clay, aka Muhammad Ali. Bobby has the same title as Muhammad Ali, and that's phenomenal. And as a little side note, 10 years later in '84, Michael Tyson would win, I think, the cruiserweight title.
Yeah, heavyweight and super heavyweight. They wouldn't let him fight the super heavyweight. He won the heavyweight. It was like 200 on the way out.
So that's just amazing. And you can Google that, you can see that for yourself. So Bobby was starting to have problems, and it started the year before. This article is actually from '73. So now he's national champion, right? Something he'd always aspired to do. It's the pinnacle of, well, it's almost the pinnacle of amateurs. Bobby also dreamed of representing the U.S. in the Olympics. Now, had it been an Olympic year, he would have punched his ticket. He would have been the #1 seed going into the Olympic trials. Unfortunately, it was 1974, and the next Olympics weren't going to be until '76. So but his intentions were going to ride it out, fight as an amateur, and I want to be on the Olympic team. The problem is nobody wanted to fight him. And it had started the year before. when Bobby would enter a tournament, like the New York Golden Gloves, all the light heavyweight contestants would drop out. When he got frustrated and dropped out himself, all of a sudden all these names appeared again. So he got, even though he would have rather waited, he was urged by family and friends to go pro, so he did. So in 1974 he goes pro, and he would go on to fight 16 fights, winning 13 of them. I'll just roll through a couple articles. What's neat, his first fight was in Philadelphia, and the guy was from Philadelphia, so he had a real hostile crowd in Philadelphia. How many fights did you have in Madison Square Garden? At least 2, right? 2 or 3? 2 as a professional and 1 as an amateur?
Madison Square Garden considered the top form downstairs. So I fought at top form several times and never fought. I don't think I ever fought upstairs. Well, once I fought upstairs. Another time I had a fight plan, but I got back out. Or I said or something like that.
What else would be going on upstairs during your fights? There's something that used to go on upstairs that made you mad. Making a lot of noise. Wrestling? The professional wrestling?
We were downstairs Monday night. We were downstairs fighting in top form with different fights. I mean, this guy who were favors, guys like that. That he's made out, and I was like 4 on preliminary or something. And there's, a couple thousand people upstairs, big time wrestling took place at 8 o'clock. There's 15,000 or whoever was gonna guard them at home. That's American dream.
Don't take Bobby to the cage fights. MMA. He gets bored after 30 seconds. So this guy's just on the ground hugging each other. He wants to stand up and punch.
All right, here's another cool one. In October of '74 was the infamous, the famous Rumble in the Jungle, right? Muhammad Ali and George Foreman fight in Zaire. Now, it was a monumental fight because Foreman had beaten Ali in a fight before that they fought. And it was a rematch. And Foreman was undefeated, had never been beat. So there was a lot of build up to this fight. And of course, Ali really ran his mouth on this one. Bobby fought on the undercard. I mean, how cool is that? He wasn't in Zaire. He fought.
I was not going to tell. They wanted to have a few fights ahead of time. 4 or 6 rounders. They put me and Joey Hadley right there. I fought in the card, not in Zaire.
I think 60,000 people were there to watch it. 5 million in the U.S. watched it, and 1 billion worldwide watched it. So I'm going to say 1 billion sets of eyes were watching you fight too as a warm up. That's pretty impressive. And I found out the hard way that Bobby doesn't like to be called Irish Bobby. American Bobby. This is some of his fight cards. If you ever been to his house, it's like a boxing museum. All his pictures and fight cards. There's even a Danny Ferris. So, to sum up his accolades as a amateur and a pro, national champion in '74, beating future heavyweight champion Michael Dokes, finished with an amateur record of 45-5 and a professional record of 13-3. Another cool stat: he was never ever knocked out. Finished every fight.
Debatable.
In 1988, the New England Association put on the New England Gold Gloves. They had their 30th anniversary, so they named their all-time team by weight category. Of course, Marvin Hagler, Bobby Stewart for light heavyweight, and for cruiserweight it was Mike Tyson. So another crossover between the two of them. Bobby, we inducted him into the Fulton County Sports Hall of Fame a few years ago. We'll show some pictures on that a little bit after when we get into the Tyson stuff. So before we jump into the Mike Tyson talks, let's do a little question and answer. Anybody got any questions for Bob?
So I got one. Bobby, during your professional career, like 1974 to 77, what it was, what was your diet like during that time? How did you eat and take care of your intake of food, drink, and stuff like that? We know you worked out, you were in the gym training, but how did you eat? How was your diet?
Not real good. I ate whatever I wanted because I worked out so hard.
Yeah.
I worked in the gym every day, and then I run every night after work, and I just didn't have trouble with weight.
Burning it right off.
Yeah.
Okay.
But tell them what you did after a fight for 2 days.
I always did fruit. I always ate fruit one time a day, and so I got salad at night and stuff like that.
What?
That was the only thing.
Like that would replenish it, sort of. Yep.
Did you ever spar with Hagler?
That's what I want to ask.
I didn't, and I could have because in the national tournaments, he was the middleweight and I was the light heavyweight.
Right.
So they lined you up according to your weight. So he's always sitting right in front of me as we're waiting to fight. And I'm almost crying thinking of the guy looking at my opponent next to me and holy Jesus. And Hank was saying, relax. He said, we'll kill these guys. You relax. I think I was a little more confident than I would say, but he was really good.
Yeah.
Really good inspiration. He's a good guy too.
Yeah, amazing.
Did you ever run into him years later, like in Tyson fights?
Yes. In fact, I was sitting down one time and he came over, he looked me up. It was very nice. He passed away now, but he was a good guy.
Who was your toughest opponent?
Mike Tyson.
It wasn't in a fight like in a ring. It was a fight like in a gym with a lot of fighters burn out in the gym because they let everything go.
Yeah.
And there was a guy from Philadelphia by the name of Eugene Cyclone Hart, who's a top middleweight, and he was like 21 or something like that. He lost one fight, so they brought him up to Catskill. They never should have done. But he worked out and they couldn't get nobody to box with him. So but I'd love to. I went down and worked out with him. And believe me, if he hit, if you and I are boxing, and I land a real good shot in sparring, I'm gonna, back off a little bit. So I'm not gonna try to hurt you or I'm
Right.
He'd knock you out.
Yeah.
He tried to. He said that's where we are in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So I had to work like that with him, and I was every day scared to death. Every time I worked out, it was really, really scary. But that's when I won the nationals. So that because I was working with him.
Right.
When you were in Philadelphia, did you ever run into Joe Frazier?
Yeah, I never. Yes, I did shook his hand one time. Yeah. Yeah.
What was the motivation? I mean, you live here, but you're driving Albany, you're in Catskill, you're training all over, and that's exhausting in its own. Just to get to this location, now you've got to put in a 2 or 3 hour workout and sparring with guys like Art, or doing other things like that. What keeps you doing it? What was the motivation?
Nobody else did it. Nobody else did it when I trained. A little bit here and there. But Amsterdam at one point was a big fight time, especially in there. A lot of fighters there. So I remember my father watching TV, Friday night fights. And I said, why are you guys so tired? And he said, try it, just hold your hands up for 3 minutes. And I couldn't do it, so and I was like, yeah. So I was thinking, maybe someday I'll try it. And then the local YMCA, Kenny House and the guys down there, they had they boxed, they sneak it because it wasn't even allowed.
Yeah.
I said, let me try it, someday I'm gonna try it. So I did, and then I got into it. And then I realized if I was gonna do it anymore, I had to go someplace else, and I found a local YMCA and I called and went down there.
What was Customato like as a trainer, as a person?
I learned more from him about life in general, hanging around there for like a couple times when Gene Hart was in they needed sparring partners for Gene Hart, to have me come down. And I'd stay there for a week or something. And I learned more about life in general around him. In a month, I learned the other 20
Yeah, it
years. of
seems
my
like
life.
he was a real mentor, really.
Real, every, somebody, he said to me one day, he said, "You scared?" And I said, I looked around, so nobody, I didn't want nobody to see me. He said, "So well, guess what? So is your opponent."
Yeah.
He said, "If he wasn't, there's something wrong with him." That made so much sense.
Yeah.
I was afraid to, most people don't want to say, "I'm afraid to fight that guy." He feels the same way you do.
Yeah, he told Tyson the same thing. I
Yeah.
saw it in an interview.
I had the pleasure of training with Cuss when I was down in Catskill, and he was probably one of the greatest motivators I've ever met in my life. I mean, I find myself, I can talk myself out of a headache without going for the Advil bottle. He puts that kind of confidence into you, motivation.
Exactly, and it doesn't, like
Yeah.
you say, it doesn't, he applied it to boxing, so he applied it, you could, every day you think of things. He said, if you think positive, you'll make it. So.
Yeah. I got hit with that same speech. Are you scared?
I'm just wondering because, I used to follow boxing quite a bit back in those days when I was a kid. And you always hear like the 70s and times around that referred to as the golden age of boxing. There were so many great fighters. And then in modern times, it's kind of been eclipsed by MMA. And I'm just wondering what you think of the state of professional boxing today versus back then.
It's nothing, I don't even know who the heavyweight champion is. The Amsterdam paper just puts nothing in about boxing whatsoever. I'm not only not gonna knock the Amsterdam paper, because there's other papers do the same thing. I mean, you go to New York, get the Post or something like that, you would know. But I don't see any action at all. That's why I think it's a good thing to start with these kids and stuff. You learn so much from it. Not, it's physical, but it's up here where the best fighters are the guys who are smart. And I don't know, I don't follow the MMA, whatever it is, but again, the fighting, the boxing, I don't hear anything about it anymore.
Yeah. Do you get to watch any fights?
I haven't seen a fight on TV, because then again, I have an antenna. I'm too cheap for the.
It's like you say, I watch some of the fights when they're on, but I usually don't know who the fighters are.
Yeah, it is nothing in the paper, like a heavyweight champion could be coming up, it's not in the paper anymore.
It seems like MMA has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Bobby, it's not in the paper because Bonnie's no longer the sports writer for the Recorder.
Say it again?
I says, it's not in the paper because Bonnie's no longer the sports writer for the Recorder.
What, you guys run so much, what keeps you running, like, you pedal the bike now for miles and miles, what,
Well, just builds up your endurance.
no, what do you do to keep yourself doing it, what do you think of, or what do you?
Hey, you
To
think
not
of
get
that,
bored
think of
of
that
it.
guy knocking your head off next time you're in a fight. And you run a little farther, a little bit faster. It's enough to make you run. Running and get your head knocked off.
That's enough.
What was your favorite fight, Bobby, out of all the professional fights you had? What was your favorite fight?
My
Your
fight?
personal favorite fight of yours?
I won a national championship.
Yeah.
When I beat Michael Dokes, that was
Awesome.
there was nothing anywhere close to it.
Great.
I never, I fought pro for a few years, but I never fought with the intensity that I did for that fight. I said, I fought in the national tournaments a couple times before, and three or four times, I fought in the international bouts. And I said, I'm gonna win this thing. I never would say to anybody else, I didn't have the courage to do that.
Right.
But I would say, I'm gonna win this.
Nice.
And then I picked out the two guys I didn't want to fight in the beginning because they would bring me down as Leon Spinks or this Russian guy that was representing the South Florida or something. Who did I draw up the Russian guy? The first thing, I beat him pretty easy. And then I fought another fight that night. Didn't want to roll 40, but winning that night, it was never the same. I never fought with the intensity of the pros that I did either. That was, you would have had to be real good to beat me that night.
That's awesome.
What do you think was the difference? The amateurs and the pros. You had a different intensity in the amateurs than you did in the pros.
With the longer rounds, but amateurs, if you fight at national levels like that, you're fighting with guys the same as.
Yeah.
I fought better amateurs than I fought pros.
Yeah.
In most cases.
Yeah.
Who was the hardest puncher you ever ran into? You've never been knocked out, so I'm wondering who rung your bell?
Well, I'll tell you, here's a story that I hope we don't get bored, but Gene Hart, the guy I taught the middleweight, only a middleweight, but he'd go to Philadelphia after he fought, and he'd weigh in at 160 for a fight, and he'd come back weighing 195, 190, and he's only been gone for a week or two. He drinks so much. Well, he was the toughest. One time I went down there to box with him. And my trainer didn't go. I usually drive to Albany. Matt Brady would drive from Albany past him. Matt didn't go that day for some reason. So I went down, drove down myself, and boxed the same thing I normally did, 3 rounds. And didn't think anything of it, and got done, and drove home. I woke up by the Rotterdam thruway, the Rotterdam service area, and I came to there. I remember nothing about the boxing, which happened, half an hour
Pretty
before.
scary, yeah.
So I was scared. I went home and I said, I had to go to work, Kennedy Bar that night. I took a shower, and I said, let me call. I gotta call down there. I hope I didn't quit or something like that. I called down there and the customer wasn't there yet. Camille, his girlfriend, says, his customer, she says, no, something happened here. He's gonna go to the hospital. So then, here he comes. They're coming up the road now. They come in the road, and I said, the customer's on the phone. I said, Bobby Stewart. Yeah, he says, I did not know. I don't remember anything. Knocked out. He said he's come back from the hospital with Gene. He broke his rib, cracked his rib. I'm the one that did the deals and I didn't remember. He was I felt so, I didn't feel good for him, but I felt good that I had to do something stupid and get knocked out or something. But he hit me some shots. That's why I won the national Golden Gloves training with him, because he was vicious. Dave Zigowitz, he was a good guy to fight with.
Did you spar with Ziggy?
Pardon me?
Did you spar with Ziggy?
Yeah, we used to either go up to water the leader, he'd come down. Sometimes he'd come down all
Zigowitz was a heavyweight. He fought against Frazier.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was the Texas State heavyweight champ. As the story goes, he was from Waterville. He took $10 in his pocket, a one-way bus ticket to Texas. Slept in the gym, swept the floors. That's how he made his way. Worked his way up, won the Texas State heavyweight title. I believe he was ranked probably around the top 12 in the world.
They put him up to 10.
Was it up to 10?
To fight Frazier.
Right, right. The Frazier people.
He also was a Navy heavyweight champion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've seen a lot of interviews with boxers, heavyweights. They all said Ernie Shavers was the hardest puncher ever.
I fought on his card several times.
Shavers, yeah.
In Felt Form in New York. I say several times, twice. But he was a real good puncher.
Yeah.
Bobby.
Yes.
Good to talk to you again. Listen, of course, Dave Zigowitz was my uncle, so we were honored that you were involved. He's a good man. A lot of people don't understand that there's a power in fighting that has to do with facing your fears.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. With Customato taught me. I learned things from him. I don't want to say I'm scared, but I say Scared too. If we weren't scared, there's something wrong with you. You'd walk across the street in front of cars. You'd jump out of trees if you weren't scared.
We also used to say that fear was an energy, just like anything else. So you can use that fear in a positive way or in a negative way.
Exactly.
If you use it in a negative way, you tighten up and you're not moving, you're getting hit, you're not throwing punches. If you use it in a positive way, if you use that energy in a positive way, then you're moving, you're slipping punches, you're counter punching. It works for you.
Anybody else?
When you first met Tyson, how did you convince him to train and to get off of the path he was on?
Can we save that? Can we save that? So we're gonna do Tyson now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll save that, all right?
Right on time.
All right.
That's a good question.
Second intro.
So, does everybody agree? Never mind Mike Tyson, Bobby Stewart, a fighter, is one hell of a fighter.
Yeah, we'll get into Tyson now.
Oh, all right.
This is the dessert party portion. So, pretty amazing, right? Amazing career of his own. And as amazing as that was, his greatest contribution to the sport of boxing was yet to come, right? A whole other chapter. So, Bobby retires from fighting in '77 and then goes to work for Tryon. Everybody knows Tryon. I think got a lot of co-workers here, so I'm hoping for some input, some questions,
And
some
all, they gave me a lot of credit for the Tysons and like that. Because you gotta remember, my co-workers all helped. When I'm working with Tyson, they're doing extra for me and stuff like that. So all the guys that are trying here, Cal and Gator and stuff, they helped them 100%.
All right, so I'm gonna try to not get into too much detail because I want it to be Bobby talking about it and question and answer like your question, and then some color from you guys because you were there, you witnessed all this. So, long story short, Bobby goes to work at Tryon. You're working with some of the most challenging, for lack of a better word, kids from around the state, right? The worst of the worst get sent there, kind of a prison for teenagers. And the staff is all getting beat up pretty good. And Bobby sees this and it bothers him. And he came up with the idea to start a boxing program to teach the kids some discipline, right? Reward them for good behavior. And again, I'll let him get into all the ins and outs of that. But at first, management was skeptical, like, you're going to take these kids that are already beating us up and make them better fighters? But Bobby felt that.
The point was, though, it wasn't to teach them how to box. They had to be at a level 3, the top level. In other words, they couldn't just walk in a box. They had to be doing good for like a week or so to be at level 3 so they could actually box in. And there was kids that came from other colleges and acting out to get sent to us because they wanted to do that and stuff like that.
What was the criteria for them in order to be able to go work out with you?
They had to be at level 3, which is the top level. In other words, they can stay up later at night. They have more privileges.
They made it look good in school, Bobby, too. They had to, if they didn't maintain in school, you wouldn't work with them.
Right. They had to at least be trying in school and not causing problems, or they wouldn't be allowed.
And then you had another rule once they got in the ring with you.
Can't quit. You gotta go give only one round. Sometimes you go 15, 20 rounds. So they could not, once they got in, they could not, I would say I would beat them down if they quit. But I mean, just, you had to be, you start, you gotta finish. That's the thing with people like that. Instead of correcting what they screwed up on, take something they like, hold it over their heads, and then they'll do better. Not every case, but I think in more cases than what's going on now.
All right. So through all this, a kid named Mike Tyson, out a cell or out his window, sees all these kids coming out of a room happy and smiling, talking about, I almost got him, I almost got Mr. Stewart. He takes notice of these kids' smiles and asks what's going on, and he hears about this boxing training, and he wants in. So maybe I'll let you.
But there's one other thing. He was in a place called Spofford, which is like a holding center down in, I think it's in the Bronx or something. Before people from New York City, when they get in trouble, they go there until they determine where they're gonna send them throughout the state. And he was in there for a while, and Muhammad Ali came there and spoke. And he told me that, anyway, that's what inspired him to get going. And then when he came up, but he forgot about it, then he came to Tryon, he was in one of the open programs, or Iowa, I think. And then he found out that I was boxing with the kids, and he asked the staff, how do I get up there? And they said, keep back in my yard. And he screwed up the next day, and they sent it to us.
Okay. So the story goes that he keeps asking staff, I want to meet Mr. Stewart, I want to meet Mr. Stewart. So finally, after him asking and asking, tell the story of how you met him.
Well, he screwed up in school or something, and they called us, not me, they called the bosses and said, that kid, we're gonna set him up to you. And they said, he's no good, he's strong as a bull, he's 5'6", 196. Set him up, okay, so anyways, he comes up and I was on one side, and they because we thought he'd be dangerous, put him on the other side with a staff right on him. He's locked in his room, locked in a room and stuff, so he can't hurt anybody. And I kept calling over there and kept asking, what's going on? Nothing. Everything, yes sir, no sir, whatever I ask him to do, he does. All he wants to do is talk to you. And then he said the boxer, yeah, well, that's the last thing we'll do is talk to him. But that night, we brought him back over after 11 o'clock when the other kids were already in bed, so we act out in that riot going on. We put him in like I said, brought him back over, and I went in his room. I would get in trouble. I did, but I slammed the door open, and I got right in his face. And what do you want? What do you want with me? He could not look me in the eye. He said, I want to be a fighter. So the rest of these idiots, if they wanted to be, they wouldn't be here at first, but they'd be out in the street, going to school, and going to a gym or something like that. I really want to be a fighter. I will do anything you ask me to do. And it's easy for me to say it now and stuff like that, but something's wrong there. Something's right. I really believe what he said. And I remember going home and telling my ex-wife and stuff like that. He said, what's going on? I said, this kid is something, and I still wouldn't talk to him about the next day and stuff. But I told him later, I said, you behave, I don't care if he flunked every subject, but you behave in school, which he did. He went from a 3rd to a 7th grade reading level in a matter of months. And everything he did was good in the beginning. And so then I started working with him, and this fellow by the name of Joe Wall worked the 3rd shift. And he says, he left me a note, said, talk to me tomorrow night before you go home. So I did, and he said, what's the matter? He said, did you show him at night, he's practicing, he was locked in his room in the dark at night. He's practicing till 1, 2 in the morning when I showed him. He said, he give you any problem in the morning, getting up? He said, no. I said, well, he's doing it, he's trying. And he just continued. Every time I showed him something, he could not stop doing it. Practice it. And then I realized that this kid, I started boxing him, and I started realizing in the end that this guy gets better and better. I'm going to go back into training myself, like, keep my hands on stuff where I'm going to get killed. Because he's a lot bigger than me.
Gator, you told me something on the phone about headgear. You remember what that was?
Well, initially, the boxing ring was a picnic table and backstop for baseball field. And when Bobby started working with Tyson a lot, he took him out and he boxed with him. But Tyson had headgear on. And after about 7 nights, when I looked out, Bobby had the headgear on. Yeah. He was ringing his bell.
Great story.
Yeah, I had to go back, and it was fun. But I had to go back, I still used to punch the bag and stuff like that, but no more, all hands up all the time and stuff. And Yeah, that would get killed.
How old was Tyson at this point?
He
Came to
to us
China at 12.
13.
Hey, we got him at home.
He came to us at 13. He left at 14.
He had incredible hand speed. It was unbelievable.
Pardon me?
His hand speed was incredible.
Oh,
His
yeah,
footwork.
He, here,
Yeah.
that's another thing. They had him listed. I got in trouble for this too. They said he's borderline, unfortunately, he's borderline retarded. And I said, how? I asked one person, I said, how do you determine that? He can't read and write properly. So how do you determine he's retarded by saying you give him a thing to write? I said, I've been with a kid. I said, you're not dumb. I said, it'll take a while for him to get, and then I got in trouble. They rolled me up for that. So they took it out of our But he was not. He's just a really smart guy. Customato, when he went down with Customato would always say stuff at breakfast. They would tell stories about the 1920s and 30s. The people, just went along with it, stuff like that. He said, I can't just do that anymore. I said, Joe Lewis knocked out this guy in the second round. He said, no, it was in the third round. He memorized the ring record book.
Yeah.
Oh, he's really,
Yeah, it's
the history of
no.
boxing is amazing.
Yes, sir.
Bobby, how could he have not gone, like later on when he went off the path, when he had the foundation to turn his life around? Was it the money? Was it the drugs? Was it the people who glommed onto him that took him down the wrong path? Because you and your people invested a lot of time to get him in a positive direction, and it didn't take much to turn him down the wrong path.
Customato had died. Yeah. That was the biggest influence.
How long did Cuss have? How long was he with Cuss now?
I'm going to say a couple of years.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly. But when Cuss died, then he started experimenting with this, experimenting with that. And Cuss said the number one thing was he had Jimmy Jacobson, Bill Payne, big shots behind him, but still he did not respect anybody but Cuss. So Cuss told me, he told the managers too, you don't stay with the same guy all the time, like promoters like Don King or Bob Arum or whoever was promoting it. So he just started trying this and trying that, experiment a little bit. Next thing is with Don King's son, who robbed him. It wasn't Don King, it was Don King's son who robbed him blind.
Yeah.
And then luckily he came to and he went back to different people, better people, and now today he's doing great.
Teddy Atlas was in there somewhere too before, was this kind of his trainer, right?
In the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, Teddy. And then something happened with Teddy Atlas' daughter in Tyson? Or is that not
It
true?
said, it was all denied to me, that Tyson made a sexual comment or something about Teddy's sister-in-law or something.
Oh, I thought it was. Sorry.
Something. And so Cuss fired him on the spot. Cuss says he did not do that. I was there, and I'm not sure I wasn't there.
Oh, okay.
But Cuss fired Teddy Atlas.
I think when Cuss died, it broke his heart. That was the first father figure the kid ever had.
Yeah.
Second.
His early childhood was terrible.
Second, just if I can intervene a minute, I had the opportunity to work at Trine for about 10 years. I used to work with Bobby a lot. I had the distinct honor of driving 7 or 8 other inmates to Catskill several nights a week so Bobby could just spar with Mike Tyson at Cuss's gym with the police over the police headquarters, Catskill, New York. But some things you guys look back and it's a matter of record that Mike Tyson said many times in interviews that the only person really is ever called Mr. to this day, Mr. Stewart. Just to share it out. That's
I think what that shows us is that the system turned itself on its ass. Because you could take kids home when you worked at Trine back then, and back then a lot of the
Show
kids.
them a better life.
Yeah, someone would mess up so they could stay because they didn't have anything to go home to. And now, if you did half the stuff that you guys did to try to make a difference in people's
Alleged.
What?
Just alleged.
No,
I'll
but
tell you when he
that's-
called
I mean,
me.
you see it. You know, I mean, we see it in the system. The way that, you know, you can't.
If
don't
people
allow
if
as
people
much
realize
value
how
as you need. What?
Tyson screwed up to get into Elmwood Cottage, which was a maximum security unit. We were the maximum security unit, so we got all the bad kids. Tyson got in trouble purposely because he wanted to meet Bobby Stewart. And that's a true
Smart
story.
enough to figure that out.
And a lot of us took a lot of bruises trying to get to Mr. Stewart. But Bobby influenced him 100%, the staff there, but about behavior, respect. You don't want to say a lot of things, but he turned in, as far as I was concerned, he was like the cottage squealer. He would tell us everything, something's going down, so-and-so's getting breaking out, so-and-so's gonna get you tonight, they're gonna hit you over the head with the board, whatever. He would tell us everything. He had 100% best behavior, because Bobby just, if you don't, I'm done. You don't get 2 chances.
So he gave one chance.
One chance.
And he stuck with
You
it.
screw
That's,
up.
that's the one thing, Bobby, you stuck with it. Because he did screw up a couple of times, and you just dropped
Bobby
him.
backed him.
Made him come back.
And everything. Bobby's the one that got him down. Bobby went to Customado. I had the opportunity to be there. He said, Cuss, this kid is gonna be a heavyweight champion. Trust me.
Very first time.
Customado said to Bobby, if you that strong about him,
He's got a heart.
get him in my game. Because he already knew Bobby's record, Bobby's background. That's how he got
He respected
Customado.
that.
It wasn't Matt Bransky, it wasn't Jimmy Jacobs, and Bill Caton. Bobby convinced Cuss that this kid, with the right training, will be a heavyweight champion.
Didn't Cuss say if he had a heart? you could
Customado
make-
said that in many interviews where he passed.
The very first time I brought him down there, I told him, I said, I got a kid, he looks like this and that. So we boxed 2 rounds, and he was forcing me so bad, I hit him a good right hand in the nose and blood. It was no big thing, but it went over his face. It looked a lot worse than it was. And the guys, Kevin Rooney says, all right, we saw enough, Bob, we don't want to go no more. And Tyson says, but we have to go 3 rounds. Mr. Stewart won't let me quit. We have to go the 3rd round. I looked at Cuss. He was all white and stuff like that. His head turned completely red, which I thought was like a stroke or something like that. But we went to the 3rd round, and he went as good as ever. And Cuss was taking my gloves off. I'm hoping he can say I can bring him back another time or something like that. I said, Cuss, what do you think of him? He said, what do you think? What do I think of him? Nobody here believes he's 8 or he's 13. I think he's 18 and he's had many fights and stuff like that. I said, well, I can prove. He said, no, if you say, I believe you. So what do I think? The very first time he saw him, that's a heavyweight champion of the world. If he continues, and he'll be the youngest heavyweight champion of all time. And who had the youngest heavyweight champion before that? Him and Floyd Patterson. Floyd Patterson was like 22. Yes, sir.
The style that Cuss taught Tyson, the peekaboo style, why that style for Tyson? Is it because
Well, shoot, a lot of Cuss's fighters like Floyd Patterson wasn't very tall, maybe 6 foot, and a lot of his fighters are short guys, and that was the best way. And that was Cuss's style. He teaches the taller guys too, but he wanted hands up all the time, and if you do it right, you don't get hurt much. I mean, you might even lose the fight and stuff like that, but you're not going to get banged up or anything because your hands are always up, and you punch every you move your head, punch after the last punch, you move your head all the time, and it worked for a lot of his fighters.
Work your way into the war zone.
No, you
Work your
said
way
so-
into the war zone.
Yeah.
You said something about Patterson. Would he show up a lot down there?
No.
No.
Him and Cuss, they see. Floyd Patterson was like Tyson with Cuss. Did everything for him and stuff like that, and then he left. Floyd Patterson left Cuss and went with somebody else. I don't know who. But he said if he ever wanted to, he said something about if he ever won the title back, he would go back with Cuss tomorrow. He made a big mistake, but too late. Never won a title again anyway. Yes, sir.
One of the things I was reading online, I just want to see if it was true, because I think this tells a lot about that relationship you had with Tyson. the story I read was that just actually a few years ago, he sent a limousine up from Long Island to pick you up to bring you down to Long Island, and you had breakfast with him the next day. Is that a true story?
No, that's
It's online anyway. It's a good story.
I've been in limousines with that group, but not, I don't think, I never heard that story. I did go.
I'll get you the site.
When just a while back, Netflix is doing a special on him and me, and they said, would I come to Las Vegas? And I said, no. Now that's where I just broke my hip. I said, no. Will you come to New York City? I said, no. Why there? If you're gonna do it here. It started here, up in Amsterdam, Johnstown, and stuff like that. So we'll go work on it. Well, they came to Catskill. And they sent a car, not a limousine, but a nice car. It picked me up and brought me down for an interview for like 3 hours. That special is supposed to come out after the first of the year on Netflix, I guess.
It's a good story regardless.
They did send a driver up to pick you up and bring you to the Catskill.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, instead of having to pay my air flight to Vegas and back, and moving forward, they got me come up, pick me up down 2-3 hours and back. And the driver was great.
In recent times, Mike seems he's turned his life around really good.
Say it again?
Mike, he seems like he's doing really well now in recent times.
Every time I see him, that was the last time I saw him in the summertime, and he's doing real good. He gave a big scholarship away.
Yeah.
Like $100 or something like that.
Gator said that Robin Gibbons' mother was trying to pick you up.
She was trying to steal the seats over in Tokyo, and she did.
Robin Gibbons' mother was prettier than Robin Gibbons. But she also oversees pranks on certain people and got a lot of money on them. Dave Winfield, Tyson.
Was the Tokyo fight the first fight you missed? The first heavyweight fight you missed?
Yeah.
That's the first one he loses.
That was against
So, Bobby, tell everyone all the big fights you went to, especially Vegas stuff. Who was a gentleman? Who was your best friend you always sat with?
I didn't get you all the fights I went to. What?
Who always sat with you at the fights? Tyson. Who was your buddy? Evil.
Who?
Evil. Evil Knievel. You and Evil.
Oh no.
That's a great people.
One time that was one of his first fights in Las Vegas. He was in a title fight, but my kid said, the guy comes up to me and said, hey, he said, I know you're in with Tyson Sunday. He says, any chance to give me a ticket to the fight? These tickets are like it's a couple $1,000 just for and I says, I can't get any tickets for the fight now and stuff like that. My kids said, it's Evil Knievel. So what? He said, I could get a ticket if I wanted to. And this is like I think the night before the fight. And I don't know if the guy was Evil Knievel or not. He had long hair or something like that, but he looked a little bit like him. That's what my kid said. Maybe it was.
To cuss them out, or do you think you would have stuck with you? Or did you think it just had to be done?
Well, I handed him off there because I was the best guy I know, one. And two, I had no way to take care of him. And I know if he went back to New York, probably would get in trouble again. He would get off, he wouldn't go to the gym. Hopefully he would, but I didn't think he. I said, Libby, that's why I knew Cuss, and Cuss took guys in. If he had to, if they didn't have a place to go, if they had to, do things, chores and stuff like that, but they could live there and stuff like that, if they had potential. And that's why I brought him to Catskill, because I could never, and I could do everything I want. I still did. I went down and saw him all out. But I couldn't,
That's one of the best moves ever, I gotta tell you that.
Pardon me?
Oh, that's one of the best moves anyone ever made.
Yeah, I think so. He was a good guy.
So this is just a couple of years ago when we inducted Bobby into the Fulton County Sports Hall of Fame, and Tyson wanted to be there, right? So we timed it up, and Tyson handed him his plaque, and then we did a double take on Tyson and inducted him because he started in Fulton County, and Bobby handed him his plaque, and Dave Hawkins said, so out at the Tryon Park, he owned some of that property. They named two of the streets. Bobby Stewart Street and Iron Mike Way. So I don't know if they've got those signs up yet, but the streets are officially named after these guys.
Club City Sluggers Boxing.
Also, if you're on Facebook, please go to the Glove City Sluggers Facebook page, because when we do more events, we'll announce them on there. And if you're not on Facebook, did we hand around the sign-in sheet?
We just want to get everybody's information.
So if we have more events or
table, emails, just so we can keep people updated on our upcoming events. So where we leave off with Bobby's story, this is where this comes into alignment with what our efforts are. Helping troubled kids, creating a positive path for them, whether they become fighters or not. It could change someone's story tremendously. So to leave that off, I again have to thank everybody for coming out tonight. There are out on the table flyers for the up and coming session that will start in October. Registration forms for that. Also, next event that we're kind of cross promoting here is the fight that's going to be taking place October 11th. It's a Saturday out at Lorenzo's in Amsterdam. We will have possibly 2 athletes registered, and if things come into alignment as far as matching up fighters, weight classes and such, and experience level, looking to have a couple of our guys in that fight. So again, checking our Facebook page, making sure we have your information. Another event like this would obviously be in the works for us, featuring another athlete. So this is kind of the kickoff, and this is something we want to make a regular thing as far as the club is concerned. So Q&A for me. Anybody have anything?
Hey, Jared.
Yes.
I want to mention some of our goals for the tournament.
Right. Well, yeah, the tournament, obviously, the up and coming tournament, but hosting a tournament of our own being one of our top goals. Towards the end of the winter, we would like to make sure that we are hosting an event of our own. Major goal is to bring the other Adirondack clubs into our area, because again, anything that can bring traffic to us is a positive. Yes, Anna?
How many children do you have, or
So,
young people?
So right now I run a class of 8 to 10. Being one coach, I like to make sure that they're getting individualized attention, and we're looking to expand into a larger location so that we can have larger participation per session.
Where are you on Church Street?
Church Street, 7 Church Street, Midtown Professional Building, downstairs. As soon as you take right off of Main where Cass Line was on the corner, that's Church, first building on the left.
Where Dr. Harrison?
Correct, I'm downstairs.
Okay.
Coach, one thing I think you forgot when you were introducing the people that are on the board, there's one key person that you missed out on
who I know you're very proud of.
Yeah.
And who just got a full sanction by USA Boxing.
I'm
So I
getting
think-
there.
Okay.
I'm getting there, John.
That's what the secretary does.
I know. So there's a gentleman here tonight that I did mention him, and he's probably nervous because he already knows I'm going to call him out. It's my son, my junior, and he is one of the athletes that will be fighting, again, like I had said, Lorenzo's next month on the 11th, Jared Johnson Jr.